Got it. Okay. All right, let's get started. Well, aloha, Lyndsey. Nice
Aloha.
to see you. I'm so glad you made it. Thank you for sharing your stories with us.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here.
Well, first of all, why don't you just tell us briefly about yourself, where you live, your licensing, maybe, a brief court reporting history about yourself?
Absolutely. So my name is Lyndsey. I live in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and I've
Ooh.
been a court reporter for 15 years this year. I took my education at NAIT, which is the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology, for 4 years. I took my degree there. And so I'm licensed as a court reporter in Alberta. I'm a CSRA. I have my RPR and just recently got my Hawaii CSR in last year.
Yay. Well, why did you choose a career in court reporting?
So I chose a career in court reporting because I was absolutely fascinated with true crime,
Oh,
Dateline, like Law and Order, all those shows. But I
uh-huh.
didn't want to be a lawyer. Like that didn't appeal to me. I don't deal well with conflict, but I wanted to be like at the ringside seat of conflict, I guess, or drama, that kind of thing. Like the legal world fascinates me.
Right.
So that's why I chose.
Front row seat to see all that.
Right? Yeah, I'm there, I'm listening, I'm doing a job, but I'm not an active participant in like what's going on in the conversational sense of it, I guess. And yeah, I'm an introverted person, so I don't like to be the center of attention. So I just like sitting back and listening and silently judging what's happening.
That's awesome. Um, so can you share a memorable experience you had in court reporting or a challenging experience you might have had, in court reporting? And if it was a challenging one, then how you overcame it, or maybe just a memorable one.
Yeah, so there's lots of like little memorable tidbits that come out when I think back on everything I've reported. Like you hear the wildest things in discovery, like in Canada we call it discovery. And so because we deal with like divorce, car accidents, medical malpractice, you hear some pretty, I'd say medical malpractice, you hear pretty devastating things. It's often like can include injuries or fatalities. So those have been the most difficult and sadly like the most memorable ones for me. Like they stand out the most. So I'm a person, I have emotions, so it's hard to get through at the time, but then I just think to myself, like, just get through the day at work, and then afterward you can decompress and deal with it and just kind of be grateful that what you heard didn't happen to you. And you can just put your life in perspective a little bit. So that's how I deal with those difficult jobs that I sometimes have to deal with.
Right. And plus you're making a record for somebody, right? So that
Yeah,
they can, you know, um, prosecute their case.
exactly. Yeah. So I have to put emotion aside sometimes and just put my head down and write and then deal with
Yeah.
something else later.
Well, do you have a funny story you can share with us?
I have a couple. So I don't know if in the US you know of the Trailer Park Boys, that show. Have you ever
I
heard
don't
of?
know of that show, but maybe other people know that show.
Okay, so if other people know it, so at Discovery, like doctors' names come up in a personal injury
Yeah.
case.
Yeah.
And so this one doctor's name came up, the witness is rattling off names, and she's like, "Oh, there's Dr. Jim Leahy." And so in my head, I'm like, that name is so familiar. And so it's a character from this TV show that is a trailer park manager, and he's just a drunk, belligerent guy. And in my head, I'm picturing Mr. Leahy. And so no one else said anything. And then I made eye contact with the other lawyer, and he and I made eye contact. We both gave each other a funny look and then just like didn't say anything about it. And on a break, we're chatting. I'm like, "Hey, Jim Leahy is the guy from the Trailer Park Boys, right?" And he's like, "Yes." He's like, "I thought that too." And no one else didn't strike a chord with anyone. So we giggled over that.
That's
Um,
funny.
but yeah,
Um,
funny stuff comes up. But we were taught in school that the court reporter cannot laugh unless everyone else is laughing. So
oh,
if
is that
something
right?
if something strikes me as funny but no one else laughs, it's just
Yeah.
like you gotta put your head down and think of something else. But yeah, I've had a case where this lady's last straw at work, it was a wrongful dismissal, was over toilet paper. And we spent probably like a good hour talking about the toilet paper incident. And so it was just, to me, it's
Was it two
ridiculous.
ply or single ply?
It was just like this man and woman at this, they worked together. He took toilet paper from the lady's bathroom and she took it personally. And I was just like, I can't believe this is what I'm writing about today. But yeah.
Okay. Well, you, what, how long, how long were you in school?
So I went to NATE, but that has a 2-year program, like brick and mortar in the classroom. So I
Uh-huh.
was at NATE for 2 years, and then I had to take one month of Con Ed because I didn't get my speed in my 2 years. So I had night classes for a month, and then I was done.
Oh, that's great. So you got through pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think I don't know what it's like in the States for court reporting
Mhm,
schools. I
mhm.
know lots are online and it's self-paced learning. I
Yeah,
really benefited from having a brick and mortar school and classmates and instructors to show up
right,
for.
right.
Because I know myself and I'm a procrastinator sometimes. So it was nice to have a set schedule and just assignments to work on.
Mhm.
But yeah, and I'm glad it was a 2-year program. University didn't appeal to me. I didn't want to go to a 4-year
Uh-huh.
university and have just a general degree in something. I like that this is basically a trade school. This is what you go and learn, and this is your job after.
Right, right.
Yeah, so I wanted to get in and out. Um,
Mhm.
and being in the classroom, it was so beneficial because you're surrounded by students who are going through the same thing that you are. It's such a tough course and such a niche career that it's nice to have those people around you.
Were you able to get a job right away after you finish your course?
Yeah. So everyone at that time was looking for court reporters. So you could
Uh-huh.
basically pick and choose where you wanted to work. I think the only barrier at that time was just I didn't have my equipment and everything set up quite yet. So people were just like, well, when you're set up, give me a call and then
And
we'll send you to
we'll
work.
put you to work.
Yeah, like my first job was an out of town job. And they're like, Kate, this is where you're going. This is your case. And I couldn't believe that. I'm like, I'm allowed to do this. Like they're trusting me just to go be a court reporter. But yeah, it was awesome. Like I started working right away after I finished my practical training. We had to do 40 hours of a mix of discovery and court work, just to get our feet wet, kind of,
Right,
and
right.
then go from there. And then you're on your own.
That's awesome. What advice would you give somebody who is considering a career in court reporting?
I think I would definitely say sit with a court reporter or a captioner, whatever your interest, wherever your interest lays, and see what the job is really about. I find some people when they get into the job aren't quite prepared for the time commitment or just the way the job goes. I like that it's flexible. Like sometimes we start at 10 o'clock and we're done in half an hour. Other days you're writing all day. So definitely sit with a court reporter and chat with them and just, yeah, get the good, the bad, the ugly, everything about it. And do, I would say I think it's the NCRA A to Z program and discover Steno. It'll give you really give you a feel for what you're getting into, I
Did you
think.
say Project Steno or Discover Steno?
We call it Discover Steno in
Oh,
Alberta.
okay. Oh,
Um,
okay.
it might be something that's put on by our school specifically, but we
Okay.
lend out a machine to someone and they take, I think it's a 6-week course where they learn the alphabet on the machine.
Right.
And everyone
And
who takes
that's
it,
free.
it's free and their minds are blown. Like when people find out what I do, they're like, oh yeah, you type a transcript, whatever. But then when they find out the skill behind it, they're just like, how does a T and a P make an F? Like
Right,
what?
right, right.
Like how, what? Like a K is also a C? Yeah, like
Yeah,
there's this,
yeah.
how do you
Yeah.
make words? And I said, see, like
Yeah.
it's tough, but that really gives you a sense of what you're going to be doing and what you're
Mhm.
learning through your entire program. Yeah, and just gives you a good sense of what you're in for.
And in Canada, the machine is the same as the US, the Steno machine.
Yes, it's the same. We do have a French one as well. I know nothing about the French keyboard. I speak very little French, but we do have captioners and court reporters that do both.
Oh, wow.
The keyboard looks slightly different.
Right.
But yeah, like English here is
Uh-huh.
English there. It's the same
Okay.
exact
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, what advice would you give a current student who might be stuck at a certain speed, struggling to pass that speed test?
Yeah, I think almost every student goes through this, besides the few
Every.
whizzes that just like whiz through school and are just naturals at the machine. I know I got stuck, I think, at 160 or 180 for like a good chunk of time. And so in our school, what we did is we had weekly consultations with our instructors, and they would look at our practice hours and kind of give us tips. So for me, what really helped was just honestly taking a break from my machine and taking a break from practice, even if it's just for a day or an afternoon, do
Mhm.
something different, kind of de-stress and not think about it, and then get back at it. And I would also say practice to different material. When we did testing, it was Q&A and it was literary or a jury charge. So if you practice along to music or different YouTube videos or the news or just something you like, it just changes it up and you don't feel so like beat down, I guess.
Right. Like ladies and gentlemen of the jury, like hearing that
Right?
every practice.
Yeah, and I think lots of people don't understand that we fail more tests than we pass when you're trying to become a court reporter. Like you fail and fail and fail and fail, and you just get so beat down that I think you should give yourself some grace and understand you're learning such a it's a hard skill. It's very hard to do. So just be gracious with yourself and just come back at it with fresh eyes and just not get so down about not passing tests. I think that makes your anxiety go up, and
Right.
then it just like, yeah, repeats itself.
Yeah, because that's normal. So
Yeah,
they're not alone.
right. And we've all
Yeah.
failed this. I remember in one of my weekly consultations, I was crying with my teacher. I was so upset and so frustrated and stressed. And he just let me cry. Like, I'm sure he saw so many crying students. He was just like, get it all out. Like, it's fine. Everyone gets stuck. Yeah, like I think it happens with anything.
Well, like you're talking about your teacher and everything, that allowed you to cry and just let it out so that you can refocus again. Did you ever have a teacher or a mentor, specific mentor who made a difference in your schooling or career, your
Yeah, I
court
think
reporting career?
all of my instructors at NATE were either past reporters or had some kind of experience in the field, whether it was captioning. The one teacher that I cried with, he was an old school pen writer in the courthouse.
Oh,
And he's,
wow.
yeah, so one of the people I work for, it's his dad actually. And so all of them were fabulous because they had such a wide array of experience and they knew what students were going through. So super helpful to have them give their feedback to you. And I'm still friends with most of them today.
That's amazing.
We see each other at conferences. Like
Uh,
the community is so small that you just
yeah.
end up in touch. Like Shauna, Janice, Joanne, Jerry, like all of them are just such fabulous people and still bring so much to our conferences and have so much to add because they have so much experience. So I'm so grateful to have them as teachers. They were amazing.
That's really cool. I wish I could, I could see my mentor. She has passed on, but she just,
Oh,
she really helped me, you know. So thinking about you, Dorothy. Um, well, can you tell me why do you love court reporting?
Oh, I love court reporting because no 2 days are the same unless you're on like the same case multiple days in a row. But I love that there's so much variety. Like my week coming up will be a motor vehicle accident. It could be a medical malpractice. It could be family law. It's just so diverse. you meet so many different people, and it's just, it always keeps you learning. I learn something new almost every single day that I'm at work. And I honestly like getting to know the deponents a little bit and the lawyers, and just having chats and like hearing about their life and what they're going through. And I love that it's so flexible. I don't think I could go back to a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 type of job. I like having my pajama days at home when I'm just editing. And then like other days I'm like, oh, I get to dress up and like go to work and be downtown, grab a coffee. Yeah, it just works for my lifestyle. I really, really do enjoy it.
Do you prefer in-person proceedings or remote proceedings, or both, or?
Now that I've done Zoom for like 4 years, I think there's pros and cons to both. My preference is to be in person. It's a little bit easier for me to do my job. Crosstalk on Zoom just gets obliterated. I thought in person was bad, but on Zoom, you can't hear anything. And Zoom can be awkward sometimes because you can't make eye contact with someone. So there's weird, awkward silences on breaks. Whereas when you're in person, people often chat and we have a coffee and stuff like that. So yeah, I prefer in person, but I'm happy having both, because some days, especially in Canada, when it was minus 45, no one wants to be on the road. Your car doesn't start.
Oh my God, minus 45. I can't even imagine.
It was so cold. Like school buses get canceled, all kinds of stuff. So on days like that, we're all like, yeah, let's just go on Zoom. No one wants to drive anywhere and be in the cold. But it also lets us have people from all over the province or the country all get on a meeting and not have to travel and add all those expenses. So I get both sides of it.
What have you found that's different in terms of reporting from Canada and the US?
So we do objections differently, and Canada differs from province to province as well. So in Alberta specifically, if a lawyer objects to the question, the witness doesn't answer it at all. Like they just move on. And then what they have to do is go to court and make an application to get the question answered. Like a justice has to rule on it. Whereas I found in American depositions, they raise the objection and then they answer anyways.
Right.
Which I didn't know was a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like recently. But like the process is pretty much the same, like questions and answers, and everyone's really lovely.
That is a big difference. Yeah, because yeah, in the States, unless they're instructed by their counsel not to answer, even though there's an objection stated, they still proceed to answer.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if it's true of like court in the States, but our courts in Canada are very I'm not going to say meek and mild, but I find when I watch like true crime from the States, it's more theatrical. Sometimes like the lawyers are more theatrical, whereas in Canada, they kind of don't stand for that at all. So yeah, and I don't know, that's like kind of the one difference that I've noticed, but I haven't sat in on like a US court in real life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have friends that do it here. And yeah, that portion of it is a little bit different. Yeah, that's about all I can think of right now.
Okay. Okay, so I have a bonus question for you. What would you wish or want attorneys to do or not do?
Okay, so the biggest one for me is to slow down. I find everyone talks so fast now, and I don't know if it's just because of a time crunch or that's naturally how they speak, but I find when they talk so fast, the witness can't comprehend what's being asked, so then they just ask for it to be repeated, and we end up making questioning 3 times longer. So I wish they would just slow down a little bit and take their time, and I wish they would
breathe. Just like breathe.
Take a breath and then find witnesses mirror what the lawyer is doing. So if the lawyer is very like aggressive, then the witness gets aggressive, and then it just becomes like a ping pong match back and forth. And my brain can keep up, but not for that long. Like an all-day deposition where they're talking 250 words a minute is just, it's mind-numbing at the end of the day. So yeah, just like having a nice pace, I think would be super beneficial. And I always love when they give spellings on the record. Like just be an ally to me. I love lawyers who have lots of experience and are just like, for the benefit of Madam Reporter, wait till I'm done and then you can start talking. And if it does start to get out of the hand, they just give them that gentle reminder because it saves me from having to interject and get involved. Just when they lay the ground rules for everybody, I really enjoy that. Like I know when I have a lawyer that lays all the ground rules out when they start, I'm like, this is going to be a nice day.
That's true. I like that too, you know. Um, well, thank you. Thank you for sharing and, contributing to our court reporting and captioning week. And I'm really grateful that you were able to share some of your story and I got to know more about you too. I don't know if there's any last things you want to say. If not, then I guess we'll just close up.
No, I had made myself little notes because I like to be super prepared. So I'm like just scrolling through. I'm like, what else did I want?
Yeah.
Say? Yeah, just for counsel, like just to be our ally on the record. Just because we are creating the record for them. So there's only so much that we can do on our end to make it better. So yeah, I would just say like I always tell like young lawyers when I have them to read themselves back, like read their transcripts and see where their little quirks are. Because in Canada, in Alberta specifically, if they ask to strike a question, it's just taken off the record. Whereas I know in some other provinces or in the States, you can't strike what you've said. So some people struggle with that if they don't speak very well and their question just kind of reads like garbage. And they're just like, oh, can you strike that? And we start fresh. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's it. I don't want it to come across as I'm complaining about lawyers at all.
Just some
Yeah,
things to help, right? Just some things to help the record.
yeah, I would absolutely, like I've sat down with lawyers before and given them a little, not a pep talk, but just kind of pointed out things that they may or may not do on the record. Because some people don't realize that we don't take down gestures or put in, like if someone's laughing. And so I've had people tell jokes on the record that don't read as a joke. Like I had one guy, and it was an MBA, and so they always asked, like, did you have anything to drink or do any drugs in the 24 hours before the accident? He's like, yeah, I do drugs. But on the record, it reads, yeah, I do drugs. Like it doesn't, the laughter doesn't
Right.
come across.
Yeah, and the sarcasm, right?
And so people are like, you don't write that? I'm like, no, I don't write sarcasm. I don't write tone. So I said, you have to speak everything onto the record. So instead of someone shouting at you, I said, they usually say, like, for the record, I want to note that Mr. Smith is yelling at me right now. And so, yeah, I find that interesting. Like, people don't know exactly what we do and how we do it. So I always love talking steno.
Right, right, right. That's true. Yeah. Is there anything else?
I don't
Anything
think
else?
so.
Okay.
I think I covered it.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, I'm always happy to talk steno. So anytime I'm
Right.
here.
Steno, court reporting. Yay. All right. Thank you.
You're so welcome.